Nobody told you that it was going to take you years and years and years. And just because you're not there doesn't mean that you're not succeeding.
Hi, my name's Devon. Today I own several multi-million-dollar companies. We started with $5,000 in a credit card. I don't know the easy way. I only know the hard way.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Whiteboard Entrepreneur Podcast, where I give straightforward advice to fuel the entrepreneur in all of us. And today I want to talk to you about a subject that's very popular on the internet. This subject I'm certain is going to go viral. It's how to get rich slow. Yeah, I said how to get rich slow. So definitely not talking about how to get rich quick, because I don't know how to do that. But I do know a thing or two about getting rich slow. And I think this is important, and it's one of the reasons I actually started this podcast, was to talk to everyone about the realities of being an entrepreneur, the realities of pursuing your dreams and going out there and doing it and taking chances on and doing things that other people won't do. And I think it's very important that you have the right expectations, because if you're going into this, you probably have this idea that like you want to create this big audacious thing, right? Or you want to do and conquer this challenge or do something that's never been done. And it's this big, huge dream that you have. And, I liken it to the Grand Canyon, right? Like the Grand Canyon is probably the biggest, most impressive thing that I've ever seen. As a matter of fact, I live in Arizona, and it's really neat. A couple times a year or whenever anyone comes out to visit, we always take them to the Grand Canyon. And when I go, every time you have this anticipation and I've already been there, right? I know what it's going to be, but you kind of walk past the visitor center, you walk down this little trail, and sure enough, you come up to the edge, and every time it almost takes your breath away. It's just so awe-inspiring, so grand, so vast, so impressive. It just, I don't know if there's any place like it on the entire earth that literally is that awe-inspiring. And it's big and it's audacious. And it reminds me as an entrepreneur of like, man, I have these big audacious dreams. And I think to myself all the time, like, golly, I wish my company was bigger. I wish we had done more. But the Grand Canyon is such a great reminder of how amazing things are creative, especially those that last. And it's by doing consistent work over time. And when you sit there and you look at the Grand Canyon and you see all of the layers, you can I reminisce about all of the different challenges in my life, all of the different challenges in my business, all of the different seasons of my business, some very successful, some not so successful, some super exciting and energizing, some being a drag. But one thing's for certain is that over time comes and goes. I could not stop time. But the key to my success, and I'm going to tell you, I think the key to most people who have been very successful in their life and in their endeavors, it's by being consistent over time, consistently doing that right thing every day, day after day after day, regardless of if you're seeing the results. Because if I showed up at the Grand Canyon tomorrow and I looked and I walked all the way down to the bottom and I looked at that river and I was like, wow, this is impressive. Look at what it's done. But I came the next day and I looked at the same river and I looked at the exact same spot at the exact same time of the day, probably not going to see any difference. Probably going to feel like, well, maybe the Grand Canyon's done. Maybe it's not growing anymore. But give it a year, come back to that exact same spot. I guarantee you everything's going to look different. And that's what our lives are in our business and our endeavors. And so many people go into pursuing their dreams thinking like, oh, I'm going to be like this person that I saw online and I'm going to be rich and I'm going to have all these employees and I'm going to have this very successful company. And I'm going to say, that's a great goal. Now consistently do the right thing day after day over time to get there. And there's not enough people giving you this message. There's not enough people telling you that, hey, it's going to take a lot of hard work over an extended period of time. And at the end of the week, you might look back and think that you really haven't accomplished anything. At the end of a month, you might look back and get super discouraged. At the end of a quarter, you might look back and go, why am I even doing this? Why don't I just go back to my day job that I had before? But let me tell you, after the end of a year, if you do the right thing consistently, everything day after day after day after day, you will make progress. Will you be rich after a year? Probably not. Will you have accomplished your dreams after a year? I doubt it. But if you do that again the next year, what's your life going to look like? What happens if you put 2 years together and then all of a sudden, you know what? You put 5 years together like that, where you do the right thing consistently day after day after day, time after time after time, and you do the right thing over time. What's your company going to look like in 5 years? What are your dreams going to look like in 5 years? What happens after 10 years? What happens after 15 years? Soon you're creating this Grand Canyon-sized event in your life where you've accomplished something. You're not just a flash in the pan. You're not just living off of emotion. But if you do this successful over time, it would be really, really cool to take a time-lapse view of what it looked like. All of a sudden to have a time-lapse view, over the last 10 years of your life and see where you're at if you've done something consistently day after day, time after time. What happens if you're at 20 years? I'm going to tell you, you probably have something really, really special. And will 20 years from now, it look like what it started? No. Because your company is going to change and evolve, and you're going to change and evolve, and your dreams are going to change and evolve. And it's going to be a little bit like the Grand Canyon. It's going to go like this. But I'm telling you, it will have lasting impact. And so I want people to understand this when they begin pursuing their dreams. That anything that you can accomplish within a couple of days, within a couple of weeks, within a year, you don't have a big enough dream. If within a year you've made it, you didn't have a big enough dream. Either that or you've created something not sustainable. But I'm going to tell you, anything that's worthwhile, anything that has big, grandiose ideas, pursuits, if you're trying to get rich overnight, subscribe to a different podcast, right? But if you want to get rich over time, this is a podcast for you. And I want you to have the right perspective. I want you to have the right views. And as you're going through, guess what? You're also going to learn what to do when you do have success. You're going to learn the value of $1. You're going to learn and go, oh my gosh, I had to work so freaking hard these first 2 years to earn this, first $100,000 or first $50,000 or first $500,000 or whatever it is. All of a sudden that $100,000 or that $500,000 is going to have real value to you. And guess what? Now you're not going to blow it either, right? When you do things right consistently over time, you create, build, you pick up, or you create and build impressive things. You pick up speed. You begin to, what was hard for you in the beginning is now becomes easier because you've learned the lessons and you've grown and you've learned what to do with that money that you have and the success that you have. And, again, going back to who you're going to follow on social media and who you're going to allow to speak into your life. What happens is a lot of these people that you're following, a lot of people that you're listening to, they've done great things. They are very wealthy. That it probably is their jet. But what they did is they didn't show you where they started from. They didn't talk to you about the process of the 20 years, about the carving of the Grand Canyon, about all of the layers that they had to go through, all of those challenges that they had to go through. All that they did was show you a time-lapsed video of their life to the end when they're standing next to that jet. They didn't show you what it took to get to that jet. And that's why it's important. That's why people get discouraged, right? Right now, you could be watching this video and you're discouraged because you've been watching all of this other stuff or had all of these great dreams, but nobody told you that it was going to take you years and years and years. And just because you're not there doesn't mean that you're not succeeding. And I'm telling you right now that if you're doing the right thing consistently, day after day, time after time, you're winning, you're succeeding. Don't be discouraged. Don't think, hey, because I don't have that jet now, or I haven't got that car, or my kid's not in the school that I want, or I don't live in the neighborhood that I want, or I don't have the number of employees that I want, or my company's not as big as my competition, or all of these arbitrary goals that you put in place, you're comparing yourself with, does not mean that you're not succeeding. If you're doing the right thing consistently, day after day, time after time, you are succeeding. You just can't tell because you're like that Grand Canyon. You're carving it through. You're carving it through that hard bedrock. You're doing the hard work that consistently over time will yield results. Don't believe the video that only shows you the last 2 minutes of that time-lapse video of 20 years, right? Don't believe the videos or get discouraged when you see people standing next to jets and thinking, why is my company not making it? Because I'm barely in the black right now. I've worked 2 years. I'm barely in the black. I'm going to tell you, you're just carving through that granite, carving through that bedrock like the Grand Canyon. You will succeed. You are succeeding right now. You're getting rich over time. You're getting rich the slow way. But that's really the only way I know. I'm Devon in this Whiteboard Entrepreneur Podcast, and I hope this helps.